Welcome to the Business and Bubbly podcast. This is the place for women in business who are on the journey of building their big ideas and want to have fun along the way. It's for those of us who also know we aren't meant to do business or life alone. Hi, I'm Charity Majors, your host and the founder of Business and Bubbly. Think of this kind of like the can I pick your brain chats that you've always wanted to have with those who are doing epic things, plus business besties, hype girls, and getting into massive action towards your next big idea all in the same place. Oh, and bubbles, because if you're not having fun along the way, you're not doing it right. Together, we'll unlock what it means to be seen, known, heard, and championed all along the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and being a woman in business building big dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a quick sip business tip as well as interviews from top experts that make you feel like you're getting bottle service for your business. We're having the raw and real conversations and chatting about all the things, the messy middle, the pivots, scaling, the good days and the bad days, because here we do real. It's where we can work hard, play hard, cry it out, and dance it out all at the same time without being judged. This is a place where we are in the arena together and we are each other's biggest fans because most of us have enough comments from the cheap seats. It's where our too much is par for the course and where the gaps of our not enough are filled in by the other epic women that are around us. It's where we can be unapologetic about the mission we are on, about the big dreams on our heart, and the business we are building without having to be perfect or have it all together, or even pretend to. It's a supportive community where business is being done amongst like-minded women because when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. It's a place where you have the support around you to get out of your comfort zone and go after your big ideas because even when you fail forward or when you reach the top, you know it won't be alone. Also, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with creating platforms that lift up other women to be seen and heard and known. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to list your business on our directory called Find Women in Business. All you've got to do is text the word directory to 833-231-8098, and I'll text you the link back to get your free listing. This is also a great way to connect with other women in business from around the world, so definitely check it out. And now let's get to the good stuff. Grab a glass of your favorite beverage, Prosecco, bubbly water, or whatever your flavor is, and let's dive in. Are you with me? Here we go. Hey sis, welcome to the show. And today's episode, I'm super excited to share with you because we had an amazing speaker share with us at the Business and Bubbly Summit. And she challenged when she applied to speak with this topic, and her and I got to chat. She's actually a friend of mine. And when she shared, I was like, this is like the verbiage of what we need to be talking about for us as women in business. And the title of her speech is Women Who Compete. And you're going to love this because first of all, it challenges the status quo of what healthy competition for women actually looks like, how we differ from men when it comes to competition. And you know, that saying of like collaboration over competition, like, does this mindset really serve us? And this challenges the status quo of women where it's like, oh, like collaboration over competition and, like we're not allowed to compete and this different stuff. And she actually brings up these really incredible points. And so when she had not only applied and was sharing this, but then spoke, I was like, okay, like this is amazing. Like this is a message that needs to get out to the masses. So I put her on stage. I'm putting this, what she shared on the podcast, and you are going to love it. So Haley Janicek, she is first and foremost a wife and a mom to 3 beautiful girls. She has also been with the ConvertKit team for over 5 years and is an email marketing expert. She is a passionate leader and loves supporting female entrepreneurs. She's actually the creator and the founder of the ConvertKit Creator Series podcast. So if you know what ConvertKit is, it's actually an incredible email marketing platform and helps with landing pages. I actually use ConvertKit. They were one of our awesome sponsors for the summit. But she did the creator series. It's on iTunes, so definitely check that out as well. But she gets to talk with creators about their journey and their story and what it looks like. So check that out for sure. But Haley, she's also a D1 Hall of Fame volleyball player, which her and I, we didn't play against each other, but we've connected years and years ago in the volleyball world. She's a former D1 head coach, and she believes that leveraging the competitive spirit is key to unlocking our greatest potential. And this episode is brought to you by one of our awesome sponsors of the Business of Bubbly Summit, by ConvertKit. If you are looking for a better way to do your email campaigns, a way easier, like user friendly, you don't have to set up these confusion soft trails and all this different stuff. And anyways, you're going to want ConvertKit. If you are a woman in business, you're going to want ConvertKit, especially for your email marketing. It is one of the easiest email marketing things that I have ever done. And as my audience grew, as my email list grew, as I started connecting the pieces with different opt-ins and lead-ins, like all different freebies and different funnels and all this different stuff, ConvertKit was the thing that helped. That was the easiest. It helped the best. It was the most user-friendly. So I highly recommend it. So head on over to charitymajors.com/ConvertKit for your 14-day free trial. You're going to love it as much as I do. I promise. And that's charitymajors.com/ConvertKit. And for your 14-day free trial, it's going to help you a ton with your email marketing. I highly, highly recommend it. So now let's get into the episode where Haley shares with us all about women who compete, coming directly to you from the Business and Bubbly Summit.
My name is Haley. I work at ConvertKit, and this talk has absolutely nothing to do with email marketing. This talk has to do with women in competition, which is kind of a controversial topic. So before I get started, I'll tell you a little bit about me. Charity did obviously a great introduction, but I'm a wife, I am a mom to 3 daughters, which is something I'm really proud of. It was very scary at first. I've settled into it. I used to play college volleyball. I also used to be a Division I head coach. As Charity said, I've been at ConvertKit for 6 years. I'm a plant parent to too many. Are there anybody other plant parents, parent people in the room? Yes. I was a co-founder and launched a business called Happy Houseplant with my dear friend Mandy Bubler, and I'm a serial idea person.
You're Happy Houseplant?
I helped co-found it, yeah.
I love that. I'm so sorry. I'm like, wait a minute, I buy that.
That idea, like I said, serial idea person actually came, which is why events like this are so unbelievably important, came at Alt Summit. Mandy and I were talking too much about plants, and we were reading some article about lights, and the idea was basically born. So all of those people that have a black thumb, or virgin thumb, that's how Happy Houseplant was born. So there you go. As I said before, this is a talk that might actually be a little bit controversial, because there's a lot of things in this topic that we'll get to here in a minute that kind of go against the grain of what we talk about as women in business. There is also, and I don't apologize for this, there's also going to be a lot of sports references, and I have practiced this a couple times, and every time I've done one of those sports references, I've cried. So just forgive me for that. But there is this popular tagline that we as women, we love to share. And, I'm sure that you guys have all seen this. How many of you guys have seen some version of this? Collaborate over competition, right? Raise your hands, right? If you just search Pinterest, collaborate over competition, it is literally everywhere. And, I really struggled with this, and I was constantly thinking about this phrase and why I didn't necessarily love it. And I was asking myself questions like, but so much of what's made me successful is my competitive spirit, and all of my successful friends are competitive, and things like, what's so bad about competition in the first place, and why is it okay for men to be competitive? And so I started asking myself this question, what if that mindset isn't actually serving us? What if that mindset is limiting us? And before I get into the meat and the potatoes of this talk, I want to talk about how this is not actually a talk about collaboration. That is not something that I am trying to argue, right? Collaboration is important. We should absolutely collaborate. It's incredibly important to our success as women. This is a talk about competition. And I'm gonna start with a story. This is my best friend, Sarah. And the reason I feel like everybody needs to run up to the screen and look at her because she's a beautiful, beautiful woman. And the next photo that will show up, it's not the most attractive photo of her, and she'd be very angry with me if I shared only an unattractive photo of her. So this is my best friend, Sarah. This is us at the University of Idaho weight room. We were there just a couple of weeks ago. It was her first time back since we had played together. And we came in together as freshmen in 2005. We were the same position, and which basically means that we were pitted against each other for 4 years. We are, you can see, roughly the exact same height. And you can't really tell in here, but Sarah is way stronger than me, like really a lot stronger than I am. So, you know, but she essentially, well, I'll get there. So there's me, and I was a 4-year starter. I hold, and I'm not saying this also to be boastful, I am saying this to illustrate a story. And trust me, Sarah is winning at life. She is obviously beautiful. She married an incredibly, and I would never say this in front of him, attractive man who is a former NFL player. They have 4 beautiful children, and he's also a pastor, so I'd say she's winning at life. But Sarah over here, that's what I meant about that photo. That's not the most attractive photo of her, but it's not attractive when anybody's like, doing something really physically demanding. Sarah sat the bench for 4 years. And she lived in my shadow until one day she decided, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to live in her shadow anymore. I can take more control over my circumstances. And she fought every single day to beat me out. Every day to beat me out. She asked herself where she could win, so she evaluated in the best of ways my weaknesses. She worked unbelievably hard, and she really leaned into what her strengths were. She went to bed earlier. She cleaned up her diet. She stopped drinking. She lifted more than me in the weight room. I'm really going to hope that this works. Oh yes, it does work. So this is, I don't have a video of us competing in college, but I do have a video of us a couple weeks ago in Portland on a girls' trip. Sarah, you can see there, I'm nervous, if you can't tell right now. I was like shaking out of nerves. You see how far back I am? I have to do it like a hard approach here, right? And I just barely get on that platform right there. But thank you, I accomplished it. Now here's Sarah. She didn't approach at all. She just hopped right on up there. And at the very end, you can see she's voicing something. She says, I am so happy right now because we still compete to this day. And that's exactly what she did when we were in college. But here's the most important part about this story is that Sarah continued to support me. She yelled from the sidelines. She celebrated my successes. She gave me pep talks when I needed them. She let me cry on her shoulder when I was stressed out. And, that's really important when I talk to Sarah about this. And I get emotional talking about it because she's one of my dearest friends. But you can compete against someone. You can compete against yourself, something, and you can also still support that other person. So I want to make sure that that is incredibly, incredibly clear. This is the story that as I was practicing, I cry every time I say it. Unfortunately, I don't know why exactly, but probably it has to do with something with my love. I'm clearly tall. I'm 6 foot tall, And I've always wanted to be a gymnast, but my height was not in my favor for that. In 1996, actually, when Carrie Strug landed that vault, I got a bowl cut because I wanted to be just like her. So you can tell I really like gymnastics, okay? Well, how many of you by show of hands know this gymnast, know who this is? That is really exciting. I'm really happy for that because not very many people know who she is. Michaela Skinner she won the silver medal this last Olympics, but in 2016 she was a Olympic alternate. She had continued to compete, and there's this stupid rule in gymnastics. I hope none of you guys are gymnastics folks because I might butcher this, but there's this rule that no more than 2 people from a country can compete in any given event. So she was, 3rd, 4th, 5th in the world in vault, and she never got her shot, but she continued competing, and at 24 years old, she was one of the oldest gymnasts that ever competed in an Olympic Games. And here, this is the video, this is the part, I'm sure you guys know the story, but Simone Biles also, I love the Olympics, and I just get really emotional talking about them. But you know the story. Simone Biles is the greatest Olympian of all time, one of the greatest. You could argue that she is the GOAT, and I know I had Serena Williams on there, but she's the GOAT. There's no greater athlete than this girl. And she got the twisties, and that means that Michaela Skinner, who is getting ready to fly home from Tokyo, she got her shot, and she won a silver medal after being basically just on the sidelines for years and for years, but she continued to fight and she continued to support her team and she continued ultimately to compete against the women that inspired her, and that is how she landed herself with a silver medal. So see, the problem is not actually competition. The problem is a whole other slew of things which we will get into, but competition is responsible for some of our world's greatest advancements, right? It is responsible for some of the biggest wins that we've had. It is responsible for a lot of growth. It is responsible for a lot of really important and impactful things that have happened in this world. So something I'd really like you to think about is that men are definitely competing against other men, right? We all know this to be true. Men are definitely competing against women. That is absolutely true in the year of 2022, right? Women are getting more shots, and so men are definitely competing against women. Women have to compete against men. That is an absolute. And then we get to this next one where we all know what's coming. It's women versus women, and we're like, we can't do that. We can't compete. We're like, no, absolutely not. Now, why is that?
Okay, friend, I am jumping in the middle of this episode really quick to give you a special invitation. And it's because this episode is sponsored by our very brand new, which I'm super excited to share, our virtual networking group for modern women in business. And if you are listening to this, you clearly are that. And I would love to invite you. We actually meet online on the 3rd Thursday of every month. And these are quickly becoming one of my favorite things. And it's because there's something special that happens when us as women, when we take intention and come together and focus in on something, right? What we focus on grows. And when we come together, focus on connection, when we focus on growing our business, when we focus on making those key collaborations and connections with other like-minded modern women in business, our business grows and our connections grow and our network grows. And if we are we know that that's one of the most important things, that squad is one of the most important things, that no matter what happens in business, no matter what pivots we take, no matter what's going on in the economy, that our community and our network is one of the most valuable assets. So I would love for you to join us in our brand new virtual networking group. This is our virtual chapter. This is a fun co-work, co-play event where high-level, like-minded, modern women in business, we gather together, we network. We have a guest speaker that comes in and teaches us either a fun little quick tip about branding or business or social media or different things like that. You can bring your favorite glass of bubbly. We do our little virtual cheers on the screen, and we have a whole lot of fun. And if you know anything about me, you know that this is not your cookie cutter networking event where someone shoves like a bad business card in your hand, they verbal vomit a really bad 30-second story, and it leaves you feeling like you're surrounded by sleazy salesmen. No, this is an online room filled with your soon-to-be business besties who are building business, who are modern women in business, and who are wanting to really make not only local connections like our local chapters do, but the global connections with like-minded women from all over. So if you want to join us, which I would love for you to do, head on over to virtual.businessandbubbly.com. That's virtual.businessandbubbly.com. And you can grab your ticket and come join us today for our online networking chapter. And I cannot wait to see you on Zoom, to learn about you, to hear about your business, to support you, to make some really amazing connections with you and for you, and to see you rise. Again, head on over to virtual.businessandbubbly.com to join us for our virtual networking chapter. We'll see you soon. Now let's get back to the episode.
There's a lot of reasons, but the reason I think is that women don't typically compete well. And the reason, there's a lot of reasons that go into that, but we weren't encouraged as young women to compete. That's different now. I'm making it different for my daughters, but we weren't encouraged to compete as young women. We experienced maybe sexism in the workplace. Society pits us against one another far too often. Another woman has maybe torn you down. The list just continues to go on and on and on. So here is what we did. We created this. We created collaboration over competition. And the reason that I don't actually like this is because it positions competition as a bad thing. But competition is not a bad thing. Competition is actually a fantastic thing. And here's the other thing that's really, really important. The reality is that we are still competing. That is the reality. And I'd be curious, like ask yourself honestly if this isn't the case. We are all still competing, and it's okay to compete. It is okay. It is going to make us better. And in fact, we should be competing. But it starts to get confusing, right? It's like, oh, when can we compete? Well, I can compete if I don't know the business owner. I can compete if it's a man. I can compete if it's like a direct-to-consumer business, like Happy Houseplant. I can compete against, various other, Home Depot, because it's Home Depot, and they sell plants and they sell plant food and things like that. Well, that's okay. But then we are like, oh no, but if I know the entrepreneur, if I know this person, or if they're in my network, or if they're a small business owner, then it's like, no, we can't compete. See, competition in sports is making us better, it's making us stronger, it's making us faster, it's making us smarter. And in business, competition is making us smarter. It is making us more creative. It is making us more resourceful, more intelligent, and most of all, it's hopefully making us more money, right? Like if we compete, if we all elevate our game, it's going to make you more money. So the problem with competition, or the problem is actually when competition becomes rivalry. That is the big aha, it's not competition that's bad, it's actually rivalry that's bad. Rivalry leads to comparison, it leads to jealousy, envy, greed, lust, sadness ultimately. But here is the most important thing that rivalry leads to. How many of you guys have ever heard of this phrase, the tall poppy syndrome? Yeah, okay. So the tall poppy syndrome is basically, I had to add that picture because I just thought it was pretty, but the tall poppy syndrome occurs when a person's success causes them to be attacked, resented, or criticized. Cutting people down devalues someone else's achievements by suggesting they did not deserve the attention. So when rivalry turns into action and you start saying, hey, you really shouldn't go with them because they suck. Also because our product is so much better. Also because we're more fun, right? That's not lifting up your peers. That's not lifting up your competitors. That's not serving the greater community of female entrepreneurs better. It's just being a punk and a brat and a bad business person. That's bad business is what that is. So as we move into this question, we start to say, well, all right, now I have to reframe competition. So what does healthy competition actually look like in women? So healthy competition ultimately looks like respect. I have another sports story. Now this one is about horses, also very near and dear to my heart. How many of you guys watched the Kentucky Derby this last year? Come on! Nobody? Okay, well, you know what? Here's your homework. You're gonna go home after this. It is like a 2-minute long race, so you all have the time to do it. You can do it on the toilet, it'll be just fine. So, Rich Strike, you can see there, he had 80-to-1 odds, okay? That horse, 6 months prior, you could have bought him for $30,000 in a claims race. $30,000. That's like zero money in the world of horse racing, okay? He got in because of a scratch. Someone decided, nah, I'm not showing up today. Something happened. And the owners of Rich Strike were like, hot damn, we're in, you know? And they're like, we just want to get middle of the pack. We just want to be middle of the pack. Well, here, this next slide, do you see where Rich Strike is now? He came back he was last, okay? He came back for the greatest comeback of all time at the Kentucky Derby. All time. There has never been a bigger upset in sports. Not even just in horse racing, in sports, outside of this. And this is the shot of Rich Strike. God, a beautiful horse right there. Like, come on, it just like gives me the chills. But that's Rich Strike making the fastest Kentucky Derby time, making the fastest comeback of all time. It is insane to watch. Now, the reason that horse was able to win, it is very strategic horse racing, right? Like he's like weaving in, bobbing in and out of there, you know. Nobody respected that horse. Nobody thought that horse was going to come in and win. And why I get emotional over horses, I don't know. But I love a good comeback story. And nobody respected him. And that is ultimately what good competition looks like. It looks like respect. When you respect your peers, when you respect your competitors, you can fight well. And that's okay. All right, well, here's another one. Healthy competition also looks like collaboration. Here's a great example. I work at ConvertKit. Like I said, we serve a lot of creators. This example is really relevant to photographers, people in the creative space. But ultimately, if you raise your price and your competitors raise their price and their competitors raise their price, then we all win, right? But if you have somebody that's constantly coming in and undercutting you, nobody really wins, right? Because the person who's taking the job for, not enough money is not making enough money. And the person that has, is trying to make more money is also not making more money. And it also looks like support. So again, healthy competition is support, and the other two things that I forgot already off the top of my head. So I was too riled up about Rich Strike, winning Kentucky Derby. What does healthy competition lead to? So healthy competition leads to innovation. Healthy competition leads to growth. Healthy competition leads to empowerment, and it leads to, again, more money. And that's incredibly important. That is the biggest takeaway for this, is that when you compete in the right way and you reframe competition, it's going to lead to more money in your pocket. So let's start to reframe this, what we've got going on up here. We've got collaborate over competition. Well, now we've identified, all right, collaboration is good. We like collaboration, woohoo! Competition, also good, right? Doesn't need to be like these two things that are fighting against each other. So we're gonna scratch out that over there, and we're gonna say collaboration and competition, So we're gonna say, you know what? I can collaborate with my peers, I can also compete with my peers, and I can also win against my peers. And let's just start to reframe this idea that competition is bad. Because if we didn't live in a world with competition, if we did not live in a world with competition, we would not be nearly as advanced as we are. Now, this comes back to my best friend, Sarah. This is a better photo of her. Sarah's senior year, she came back. She was the most dynamic outside hitter that the conference had. She started every single match. She was ranked top 50 in the country for sets or for points per set. She led the conference in blocks, and she was a first team all-conference winner. Now, something I'm proud of for me is that this November I will get inducted into the Hall of Fame at the University of Idaho. And I know without certainty that accomplishment for me would not exist if Sarah didn't respect me enough to compete against me. If Sarah didn't respect me enough to say, you know what, I think I can win. I can still support her, but I think I can win. And ultimately, I couldn't just slack off. I couldn't go to practice and, just like not give it my all, because Sarah was right up behind me saying like, no, I got you. I'm coming after you, And I also know that Sarah would not have had these accomplishments if she didn't have somebody to fight against, if she didn't have somebody to push her, if she didn't have somebody that was willing to talk to her. And Sarah, mind you, like I said, we were roommates. We shared a house for 4 years. I even sometimes liked the same boys that she liked. She won 99% of the time. But we were competing against each other, from in virtually every category. So what's next? Ultimately, that's a question for you. So I asked our CEO, we host a conference called Craft and Commerce every year. If you haven't come, it's a great conference and I'd encourage you to do it. And Nathan Barry, our CEO, he's a very inspirational guy, but I asked him that question and I said, well, what do you think about this talk? And he said, at the end it should be this like call to arms, like we as women will compete, and I was like, I don't feel good about that. I'm not really, I don't really love that idea. And so I really want this, and this is also going to be something that is probably new for a lot of us, to start reframing this idea that competition is good, competition is okay. And I think the thing that I want to point back to that I said earlier is that the reality is that we're still competing, but we've just got to figure out how to compete well. We've got to figure out how to compete right. And so I'm going to leave you with a couple of questions that I really encourage you maybe take a photo of this. And this would be something that you guys can journal on. And here are those questions. Are you comfortable with competition? Why or why not? What negative perceptions are you holding on to when it comes to competition? What experiences have you had that have made you think that, nah, competition is not for me? Where and when are you comfortable competing? Like in what environment? Like I said, well, I'm okay competing against big box stores because they're big box stores. Okay. Well, I'm okay competing against this photographer because I don't know this person, but I'm not okay competing against this person because I know them. Where are you comfortable competing? And then most importantly, what does healthy competition look like for you? Because this is going to be different for everybody. And my goal in this talk was not to get every single person to be like, ha ha, I'm competing against you now. The goal in this was just to start to reframe this idea that competition can be healthy and competition in women is important, and that we as a society are competing whether we want to or not. So the question is how are you going to do it? What feels right for you? And how is it going to serve the greater group of women in this room and ultimately just, women entrepreneurs all around?
Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.